What's going on, friends and family? Thank you so much for tuning into Every Day is a Saturday with your host, me, myself, and I, Brian Roof. Hey, guys, another great day, another great interview. But before we get on with our next interview, let's talk about a couple of things. So, obviously, the show's pre recorded. So, these shows come out a little bit later than when I actually recorded them. But since I've actually found out some absolutely great news that I thought I'd break to you guys all. Been voted 2023 number 3 best veteran podcast by FeedSpot. Uh, totally didn't expect it. Just found that out and was totally elated and super happy to break that. And without each and every one of you guys out there listening, I wouldn't be able to do it. And without all the amazing guests that I've had on, I'm just pretty much speechless about it and elated. So now we have something to strive for. Number one. But no, I'm actually humbled and wasn't expecting it. But like I said, thank you guys so much for each and every one of you guys liking, sharing the show out, uh, you know, adding feedback, all that great stuff. Without you guys, we couldn't do it. Um, and so let's go ahead and before we get, you know, going, my next guest is going to make me probably say a lot of words that I'm not used to using. So bear with me, Um, so here we go. My next guest served his country proud in the United States Marine Corps from 1985 to 1991. And shortly after he left the Marines, he went to school in Orlando, Florida, and has spent the last 20 years as a doctor in Central Florida. His scholastic career started out in human anatomy and physiology. He eventually attended the Florida College of Integrative Medicine. Over the last 20 years, he has practiced in physical medicine and rehabilitation, functional medicine, naturopathic medicine, and biohacking. Let's meet our next guest, Dr. Greg Carter. What's going on? How you doing, brother?
Good afternoon,
Thank you
Brian. Thank you
so
so much for having me on the podcast.
absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. So let's go ahead and get to meet Mr. Greg Carter. How was it that you actually ended up joining the Marine Corps? Tell us about your Marine Corps career and what you got going on for yourself now.
Sure, I'd love to. I'm the son of doctors. Um, I'm half Filipino and half American, and everybody on the Filipino side is either a doctor, nurse, or was in the Navy. Everyone on the American side of my family was in the Navy. My grandfather, my dad, my brother, one of my sisters. So I didn't like their uniform, and not picking on them, but I didn't like their mission either. And you know, um, growing up as a doctor's kid, I was just a spoiled piece of shit, just as you could imagine. I had a silver spoon in my mouth. I was very entitled. And this was the 80s, right, during the Reagan administration. And I came home one Friday night, and it was 2:30 in the morning. And my mother, Dr. Linda Carter, and my dad came out of the room and very diplomatically said, "Hey, you know, if you're going to be out past 2 a.m., would you do me a favor? Stop by a payphone," because that was the era we were in, "and drop a quarter in there and let us know that you're not dead in a ditch." And I said, I'm not going to live under these draconian conditions and egregious insults to my human rights. And if you don't leave me alone, I'm going to join the Marines. And I just said it on a whim. And my dad, who was a 23-year Navy veteran, said, "You want to join the Marines, tough guy? I'll drive you down there." And I said, verbatim, "Fuck you. I know exactly where it is." And I got in my car that my parents paid for, and I drove with the gas that they paid for to the recruiter's office at 0:30, and I waited. I waited until that recruiter showed up at 05. And he went in and unlocked the door, and I went in after him. I think he thought I was robbing the place. It was Staff Sergeant Vernon L. Green, who was a Force Recon Marine, had more cheddar on his chest than anybody, and was significant combat action. And he said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "My name's Greg Carter. I want to join the Marines. I want to get out of here tomorrow." And he goes, "Whoa, hold the phone, buddy. Let me ask you a couple questions. Did you kill anybody?" I said, "No." He goes, are you guilty of some crime you're going to jail for?" I said, "No." He goes, "Did you get a girl pregnant? You're trying to get away?" I said, "No." "What kind of questions are these?" He goes, "Oh, these are just common reasons people want to get away quick. Tell you what, here's a little test. It was a pre-ASVAB, right? Let's just see how you do." Well, listen, Brian, I went to a private school my whole life, okay? I crushed that silly little test. And he goes, "Well, if you do this good on the real test, you could do anything you want in the Marines." I said, "I want to do whatever's going to get me the fuck out of here today." So I went and I took the ASVAB and I did well on it. And I said, just get me out of here. I don't care, make me a grunt. And he said, "Negative. You're going to do a technical MOS." I didn't even know what that meant, dude. I didn't know what a technical MOS was. So he said, "Well, here's the 3 categories." I said, "Fucking pick one, dude." And I ended up in 29
Damn.
Palms after Paris Island. And
Oh yeah,
I
the
did
stumps, huh?
electronics repair. And it was great, but when I was in boot camp, I remember standing there in my whitey tighties, bald, looking at all these other bald dudes in their whitey tighties, and had to get in the rack at the position of attention. I'm staring at this rack up in front of me, and I was like, "What am I doing here? I'm the son of a doctor. I had my own room. I had my own car. I had all this luxury." 2 weeks of boot camp, Brian, would have probably straightened me right out. But I signed up for the 6-year plan because I got a technical MOS. And I got to be honest with you, I couldn't be happier. My parents, they were, this was the latchkey kid era. I'm a Gen X, right? And my primary influence was TV, Turner Broadcasting Network. I watched a lot of John Wayne, a lot of Charles Bronson, a lot of Clint Eastwood, a lot of that kind of formative stuff. And I was pretty patriotic anyway. Top Gun had just came out, so everybody was gung ho. And I was actually very proud because all of my friends who were also doctors' kids, they were pretty soft. I'm just gonna say it. We're soft, and none of them knew anybody that was in the Marines. And there was this pervasive mind virus that said, it's you got to be Rambo to make it through Marine Corps boot camp. And all of my friends told me to my face, "You are too much of a fat pussy to make it through Marine Corps boot camp." And I thought to myself, well, maybe they're right, but how am I ever going to find out if I don't try? And nobody in our social circle had even gone to Army boot camp or anything, So I was like, well, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not that scholastically inclined right now because I was fractionated mentally. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and again, I mean, without question, I was just this little spoiled, entitled piece of shit that thought the world owed me something, and I knew that was wrong. I knew that attitude was wrong, and I knew that my parents and my social circle were not the place to beat that out of me. And I thought to myself, I wonder if the Marines could do that. Well, yeah, they did. Real
They have
well.
a way. They have a way of beating things out of us.
Yeah, and so I went to Paris Island. That was a fucking eye opener. I went to 29 Palms. Total eye opener. Because I was in a technical MLS. I lived in a squad bay, or not a squad bay, but we got those little apartments with 4 people to a room. That was pretty cool. I felt like I was living better than the kids in Tank Battalion, who were in squad bays, and
Yeah.
and then I went to Lejeune for my first duty station, and I was in Lejeune in 2nd Maintenance Battalion, 2nd Mardiv, and at a place called El Mako Electronics Maintenance Company, and that's where I met my first couple of 3 mentors. I met this guy, Staff Sergeant Snow. He was instrumental in pulling my shitbird head out of my shitbird ass. And and this other guy, Staff Sergeant Tillman, another guy, instrumental in scoring me away. And the beautiful, beautiful part about the Marines is everybody's a leader at some level. And they have this incredible camaraderie and brotherhood that I don't know that you could get it anywhere else. I don't know how the other services look at it. Like I could ask other guys in other services, what's your birthday? They don't fucking know, you know? So let me see. So everybody was short in my MOS. Just so happened, the MOS I was in, everybody was short. They were getting out in like 2 weeks. I was the last of the Mohicans. And then Iran, under the Reagan administration, was attacking merchant shipping in the Persian Gulf. And so they were like, we need somebody in all these MOSs. And even though I was just a fucking PFC or a Lance Corporal, I don't know what I was, they were picking the best of the best in every area. I wasn't the best of the best, Brian. I was the last of the least, you know? And they were like, well, you're it, pal. You're going. Well, the cool thing about that is
The voluntold shit, huh?
Yeah, there hadn't been any real combat scenarios for some time. So they had to crash course everybody that was getting deployed in all this cool stuff that I would have never got to do, like fast roping. That was a new thing, you know, fucking rappelling a lot more, freaking getting in that helo thing in a pool where they dump you in the pool and it turns upside down. You got to get out of it. Yeah, I got to do all that cool shit. And I was like, God damn, this is the coolest shit. This is what I thought it was, you know? And then we got on a flat bottom Navy boat and we went across the Atlantic. You know, it was just a goddamn nightmare because we're making circles in the Atlantic and we crossed the equator and we had to crawl through garbage for some stupid naval tradition. And, you know, I was just like, what am I doing here? This is crazy. And the interesting thing about being on a boat is I didn't know I was going to have to run fire watch with a Navy guy, right? So we're on the back of the boat and I was running fire watch with the same couple of 3 kids every time. You know, they're Navy guys. I mean, not picking on them, but they were a little bit shitbirdy, right? And the kid I was most often in the on guard duty with in the Navy, he was asleep all the time. And I thought, because I was a Marine and because of what they drill into our heads, I thought, God, I gotta throw this motherfucker over the edge, this shitbird piece of shit. But I thought, no, let me just wake this kid up and talk to him so that we can both be alert, right? I ended up becoming really good friends with that Navy kid. And when we hit ports of call, I hung out with him and his Navy friends because they had been to all these places before and they knew all the cool spots to hit. So that was a cool thing, you know, and I got to see how the other half lived. I mean, the Navy quarters on ship were by no stretch of the imagination luxurious, but compared to what we had, it was the motherfucking Taj Mahal, you know. And these guys were like, "Hey, come hang out with us in
100%.
our fucking luxury apartment." I was like, "Yeah, I'm down," you know.
They
And
called
then
we had red painted. We could only go in the red areas, or when I was on a ship, they were painted certain areas. So the red was for Marines only, and then they had green, which was kind of neutral, like where the chow hall and stuff was, and then blue. If you were a Marine, you weren't allowed to go on that area. You were not supposed to go on the blue decks, but
I think I got lucky, bent the rules a little bit, you know. I mean, it was the 80s. There weren't any cell phones. There was no internet, right?
Right.
Well, we got to the Persian Gulf, and Iran fucked up, and Reagan was like, blow that goddamn oil platform up now. So we surrounded the Sasan oil platform. The USS O'Brien, a destroyer, showed up, and some other battleships showed up, and we blew the shit out of that fucking thing. And by the time Marines landed, that wasn't anybody left to kill.
Yeah.
And we still got all combat action ribbons. But I for the first time in my life, I saw what naval gunfire could do. I was fucking impressed, dude. I was like, God damn, I understand their mission now, right? And then I came back. I had this chest full of fruit salad. I had a combat action ribbon. I was like a Lance Corporal, you know, walking around with more shit than most officers. Because again, the 80s, right? And then that kind of got me put up for a meritorious corporal promotion, which I got. And so then I went to NCO school, which I didn't want to do. I was trying to duck NCO school. I don't know about you. I didn't want to go.
Everybody tried. I ended up never making it because we ended up deploying out to the Middle East. So, and then I ended up, when I all said and done, I ended up getting out by the time they even got a chance to get me to go to the NCO. But yeah, that was the thing, bro. Everybody was trying to always duck that.
That was me.
No one
I was
wanted to
trying
go to
duck it.
NCO school, bro, because it was like going back to boot camp, and everyone's like, nah.
Exactly. Well, the first sergeant Roberts, he was a big, like, he was the personification of a first sergeant. He was from Boston. He was Irish, and he had all these cool like names for you, like Laddie Buck, come here, Marine, and I was terrified of this motherfucker. I was just terrified, and he was like, Corporal Carter, when did you go to NCO school? I haven't gone to NCO school yet, First Sergeant Roberts. I'm pretty busy. You know, we're short here in the tech department. Maybe in the next one. He was like, yeah, fuck you. You're going now. All right. So I'm going to be honest with you. I couldn't be happier. I don't know what I expected, but what I got was not what I expected. I came out of NCO school. I was like reborn. I was
A
like,
better
fuck, I
leader,
love this.
right? I mean, it was, yeah, they make you a
Yeah.
leader even more. Yeah.
It was great. And that was the first
Right.
experience that I had where I thought I knew it all. I thought I had it all figured out. And I went to a school, and the school was like, you don't know shit, fuckface. Here's what you need to know. That was NCO school, right?
Right.
So then I mentioned in my bio, I never picked up a gun in my fucking life because I'm a doctor's kid, and you know my family were like, you know, not into it. And I went to boot camp. I fired pizza box. I bet I didn't even fire that. They just probably pushed me through. And so they were like, "You're a meritorious corporal, and you don't know how to shoot. You're going to retard shooter school." And so I went to retard shooter school at Lejeune, and whatever it is in around Lejeune, I think it's Camp Jackson. I don't remember the name of it because it's like 1,000 years ago. But they had a class, and Terminator had just came out, and they had a laser sight class and an iron sight class. It was the first one, and they were like, "We need volunteers for laser. We need volunteers for iron sights." And everybody wanted to do laser because it was the cool thing, right? It's Arnold Schwarzenegger, Terminator. And I was like, I don't know. What if the battery dies? Like, I really probably need to know how to shoot for real. So I went for iron sights. I couldn't be happier because whatever they were saying to me in boot camp, honestly, because I was fucking scared for my life every goddamn day, never had anybody really yell at me, never had, you know, the boot camp experience. None of that had ever happened to me because I was a spoiled prick, right? I was just trying to stay alive. And, you know, the whole brass F, side alignment, side picture thing, I was like, wow, what do you know? And I became a rifle pistol expert just like that because they had the wherewithal to send me to NCO school and to retard shooter school. And then I shot so well, they were like, hey, you can become a rifle pistol coach for a B billet. I was like, get away from my primary MOS, hang out over here on an easy fucking day, sold. So I did that for like 6 months, I think. That was great fun. That was total fun. And then I went back, and I was kind of like getting towards the end of my career. And I was going to get out, and I knew that I was going to go to school because I figured, okay, you know what? I've done the Marine Corps thing, and I think I've got the discipline that I was looking for. And whatever I was looking for, I got it. And I'm going to get out. All of a sudden, this motherfucker Saddam Hussein started making some waves. And they're like, guess what? We're all going over there. And I felt somewhat ill-prepared for an actual war because I was in maintenance battalion. I wasn't in 0311, like, you know, like I was a pogue, right? And I was like, you know, I wish we could do some more combat skills. Well, no sooner did I think that, they sent us all the combat skills course, right? Because they didn't have like what they have now. So we went to this combat skills crash course, which was cool. It was cool. And then we all jumped in airplanes. We all had our, I think they were Nintendo Game Boys or something, where we were all playing Tetris on the plane, you know, and we landed in Jabal in Saudi Arabia, and we got on trucks and went out in the middle of the fucking desert, looked like the surface of the moon, and, you know, then we did what we did, you know, and that was cool. That was cool. And when I watched the movie Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal, except for the homo stuff they got in it, I tell my friends, oh, I was a lot like that. That pitch black in the middle of the day, that shit happened. It was just like that. And so then I was 50-50 about re-upping, you know. I was like, God damn, I'm a sergeant. Oh, I picked up sergeant. You know, that was like a lifetime dream for me, Sergeant Carter, because of Gomer Pyle. You know, I wanted everybody to call me Sergeant Carter. And and it was fun. It was fun being a sergeant, right? Because your whole
Yeah.
world changes, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I
Just
was
even
really,
becoming an NCO in general. I mean, literally
yeah,
from Lance Cooley to Corporal, it is a different world. You have a different responsibility. You know, but the problem is you're still kind of at the bottom of getting your ass chewed, you know, as a corporal, because the sergeant's,
yeah.
you know, gonna come chew your ass. So being a sergeant is even better, bro, because you're just kind of that next layer of ass chewing, so to speak, at the bottom of the hill.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I was really, I was 50-50, man. I was like, you know, I love this Marine Corps shit. I love it, and I'm good at it now. Like I wasn't good at it in the beginning, but between First Sergeant Roberts, Staff Sergeant Snow, Staff Sergeant Tillman, you know, a couple other instrumental Marines around that beat my head into a wall until I got it, until I figured it out. Right? They were just so good to me and the other lower ranks. Um, I thought, God, I could really do this. I could make this a career. But I have this heavy influence from the academic side of my family. And they were like, look, you know, you've given them 6 years. Why don't you just go back to school? Why don't you just go back to school and do something with your life? I mean, how many more times do you need to shoot at somebody before you know what it feels like? And I thought, oh, that's kind of a valid point. So I got out. And I was in Tampa for a little while, which is where my family's from. And I eventually moved to Orlando. And I became a bartender at this place called Pleasure Island, which is Walt Disney World back then. And Pleasure Island, buddy, back in the 90s, that place was fucking Rome, and I was Caesar. Because I had all this time in the Marines. I had a whole different attitude than the civilian kids. You know, I wasn't taking any shit. I was just living my fucking best life. And working at Disney, you know, it's kind of, they have great infrastructure like the Marines. So I got all the benefits of being a bartender, meaning I was making a lot of money every night, but I had all the benefits of working for a corporation. Like I had medical benefits and all this shit. So I was like, God damn, this is fucking great. And I was hanging out at the bar, bartending, and I hadn't gone back to school yet because I was just having so much fun, right? And my cousin Ray, this Filipino kid, he was a nurse, and he would sit at my bar every night, and he'd go, "What the fuck are you doing with your life, man? What are you doing What are you doing here, pretending to be Tom Cruise in Cocktail? Go back to school, you fucking idiot." And he would sit there every day, Ryan. Go back to school, retard. Go back to school, retard. Go back to school, retard. And one day I said to him, "Okay, Ray, look, here's the thing. I'm scared." And he laughed and, what are you scared of? I said, "Bro, I'm 25. I'm so old. I'm 25. I'm so old. You know, I don't know if I'm going to cut it in school." And he was like, "You're not too old. You're just a pussy. What did that Marine Corps teach you, man?" I thought to myself, this kid's got a point, right? And I said, "Well, I don't know where to start. Like, I don't want to just jump back into pre-med." And he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just go take a massage therapy course? It's only 6 months long." I said, "Massage therapy? I don't know any masseuses." And he goes, "They don't call it that anymore, dummy. It's called licensed massage therapist. It's a medical license. And it's only 6 months long. And if you think that you're too, you know, if you want to just dip your toe in an easy academic pool, this will do it." Well, this kid was right. I went to this podunk hillbilly massage therapy school. And, you know, when you bartend, you get off work at 2. You don't get out till 3. Then you go to an after hours bar with all your friends till 4 or 5. School started at 7. I'm in the back like this, you know, just off in Never Land. And because I had taken school in the Marines, I had started my pre-med. I had biology and human anatomy and physiology, and I had like a year and a half of pre-med already under my belt, like biology, right? And the teacher would ask a question, and I'd come out of my drunken stupor, and I'd raise my hand, and he'd go like this, Mr. Carter. And I'd go, disseminative intravascular coagulation. And then I'd go back to sleep. And the guy calls me in his office, right? Now here I think I'm about to get an ass chewing from the fucking gunnery sergeant, right? That's how I felt. He's calling me in his office, and I was ready for an ass chewing. And he goes, hey, what's your deal, man? I go, what do you mean? He goes, you come into school every day, you smell like fucking a brewery, you sleep in the back of the class. How do you pull these answers out of your ass? So I told him the story. I told him I had some school. Told him about my cousin Ray, who was telling me I was an idiot for not going back to school. He goes, your cousin's right. You're a fucking idiot. Go back to school. Go to a real school. I was like, oh, man, maybe these guys are right. So I went to a local school because I had a daughter who had had open heart surgery, and I didn't want to leave her. And the closest major school I could go to was in Georgia. So I went to this minor naturopath school called the Florida College of Integrative Medicine. And I was there. I didn't believe in it. Weeds, beads, and seeds bullshit, because I came from regular medicine family, you know. But the interesting thing about being forced into that school so I could keep my lifestyle with my kid and keep my cool Disney job was I learned about all this shit I would have never heard of. I learned about how nutrition is more important than medication. I learned about how the body needs 90 essential nutrients in order to function. Essential in the context of a biological discussion, Brian, means your body can't create these nutrients. Like bears can create vitamin C. We can't create vitamin C, right? And then so if just one of these nutrients isn't there at the right amount, all kinds of shit starts going wrong. And I was like, well, why? Because it's one disease, one cure is what we were taught. This is why. Because you, me, and everybody we see, we're made up of 10 trillion biologically intelligent cells that don't need us to say lungs, breathe, heart, beat, right? We don't have to tell them. They're doing it on their own. And so, for example, there's a nutrient called magnesium. Magnesium is responsible for 97 functions in the body. 97. And if you don't have enough magnesium, and none of us do because we ain't eating 5 pounds of leafy green vegetables, right? 97 fucking things are going wrong with you, including anxiety, including muscle tension, right? I was like, man, this course is actually way better than I thought. And this was the second time I realized I had gone to a school thinking I knew everything I needed to know, and I was slapped in the face with how much I didn't know and how grateful I was to learn this shit. And then, so I was in second semester, and I knew that with my podunk hillbilly licensed massage therapy license that I could open up a clinic. Because in Florida in that time, all you had to be was a licensed healthcare provider. You could open up any clinic you wanted. And I wanted to open up an auto injury clinic, but I couldn't do it just as a massage therapist. I had to hire other doctors. So I was good friends with a chiropractor. I was good friends with another naturopath, and we needed an MD, right? And all the MDs I knew were in Tampa, and I was in Orlando. And I knew we needed an MD on hand. The only one that I had access to was the dean of the school. He was this old Burl Ives looking motherfucker, right? Nobody talked to him. He's real mysterious. Everybody was terrified of him. Come on, Brian, we were in the Marines, okay? So I walk up to this guy in the teacher's lounge like I fucking belong there, right? Hey, excuse me, doc. My name's Greg Carter. I'm in your class. He says, I know who you are, son. How can I help you? I said, well, me and this naturopath over here, we have an idea to make money. We want to include you. And he goes, okay, what is it? Some multi-level marketing shit. I go, no. I said, I want to open up an auto injury clinic. Do you know anything about auto injury? He reaches in his pocket, pulls out a piece of paper, writes his phone number down, and goes, call me, tell me where to meet you kids for lunch. So we meet him at this place called the California Pizza Kitchen. And I download my fucking idea to him, Brian. Okay? I go, we haven't got no money. We have no money. We have no fucking resources. All we have is licenses. This is the schematic for how to make money in auto injury. I know how to do it. Here's my background in medicine. I promise you that we can't pay you shit right now, but we will make money together and you will love this. He goes, you're in the Marines? I said, yeah. He goes, okay. Just like that. That was his qualifying question. You're in the Marines? Okay. I found out later he came from a military family. He was in the Air Force. Okay. After the Air Force, he got contracted before there was such a thing as contracting. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he was very high speed, low drag, even though he looked like an old fuck. But over years, I got the stories out of him. This dude had done some cool shit that you and I would think, wow, that's fucking cool, right? So he let me come up with my plan. We opened up a clinic. We made $45,000 our first month out of the gate. This is the 90s, bro. Dang. You know what 45,000 is to a couple kids? It is a fuck ton of money, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're doing okay. So eventually, you know, the clinic split into insurance-based medicine and into out-of-pocket medicine. And the out-of-pocket medicine was this brand new thing called anti-aging medicine. So no insurance would cover it. There was very little data around it. There was one academy called the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine that if you wanted to be an anti-aging, you had to go to their symposiums. They were the only people that knew shit from shit, right? That was in Las Vegas. Well, me and this guy and a couple of other members of the practice, we fucking flew to Las Vegas. And I learned that there are things, even back then at the end of the 20th century, there are things that you can do where you can slow down, stop, and in many cases even reverse aging. And I was like, why the fuck did I never hear about this from my medical family? How the fuck did this happen? So I confronted him. When I went home. My Uncle Dan, he's a fucking board certified orthopedic surgeon. Guy was older in time, looked like motherfucking Marcus Welby, right? And he goes, he listened to my story, and he goes, Greg, what do you think the job of allopathic medicine is? I go, to heal you and make you feel better and to give you the best life possible. He laughed at me, Brian. He fucking laughed right in my face. He goes, listen to me, dum-dum. The job of medicine is to keep the patient just above dead. Just above dead. And when we have made you just above dead, the rest is up to you. Because you know how many fucking patients complain to me and bitch at me because I don't talk to them about omega-3 fish oils or vitamin E or blah, 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 blah. I go, yeah, why don't you? He goes, because I'm a medical doctor, not a nutrient doctor. I'm a medical doctor, not a vitamin doctor. I can only talk about medicine. I can't talk about any of this other shit. If Medicare or Blue Cross Blue Shield or any other third payer party is paying for it, I have to color by these numbers called the standard of care, just like you do in your auto injury clinic. Because
AKA Big Pharma.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. So then the light turns on for me, Brian, right? Oh, so if I want to get medicine and have insurance pay for it, and insurance's job is to make a profit, they're going to do the least amount that they can for the maximum amount of money. And their job at the end of the day is just to keep you alive. It is not to give you a higher standard of life. It is not to make you feel better. It's not to help you regain your health, or meaning your vitality. It's just to keep you there. Everything else out of keeping you just above dead, Brian, that's a health freedom. That's a personal choice. See, because In America, not like Canada, right? We could go to the vitamin shop. We can buy whatever the fuck we want. A lot of countries, you can't do that. So actually, we have it better than a lot of other people. As long as you, the patient, get it in your mind that you cannot rely on your primary care medical doctor to make you healthy. You can only rely on your primary care medical doctor to keep you alive. Then you're not salty about the fact that he didn't tell you that testosterone replacement therapy will change your motherfucking life. See, that you have to go to a doctor who's certified in the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine so that he can take money from you that didn't come from Medicare, didn't come from Blue Cross Blue Shield, didn't come from TRICARE, came from you, and now I can speak to you freely, unencumbered. I can say, well, Brian, your testosterone is at 247, and for a man between 45 and 55, you're what's called within normal limits. Let me explain what that means to you, Brian. That means they do a median average of all the people in such and such demographic and go, the average for guys in your age group is this. Well, I'm 57 fucking years old, bro. Within normal limits of testosterone for me is like 230 to 330. You know what that feels like? It feels like death. Do you know what optimum limits are? Optimum limits? Between 800 and 1100. And that's what we were when we were in the Corps. We were between 800 and 1100. We're having the time of our motherfucking life. And everybody's like, oh, well, that's just because you were younger. Yes. But we would have maintained those levels if not for a couple of key things that we could talk about in a minute. My point being, the average 25-year-old male in America today has lower testosterone than a 65-year-old male had when you and I were in our 25s. Let me say that again. The average 25-year-old male today has lower testosterone than a 65-year-old male had when you and I were in high school.
Wow.
How is that possible? I'll tell you how it's possible. It's possible because of some shit we learned in the Marines called nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare. Okay? Now, there are two sides to this coin that we're going to talk about. One is what has to happen, and one is what is happening but didn't have to happen. Okay? Here's what has to happen. We got 360 million people in America, right? Just about 360 million people. We got to feed all these people for a reasonable amount of money. Okay? That means we got to grow chickens faster. We got to grow cows faster. We got to grow pigs faster. And we got to make sure
veggies, fruit, faster.
Right? So we can't send them into the supermarkets with salmonella. So we got to give them antibiotics. Now let's take a look at what antibiotics do to an animal. Antibiotics kill the bad bacteria, but they're like Marines. They're equal opportunity killers. They kill the good bacteria. Okay? When your good bacteria, called your microbiome, is killed, the entity, the animal, gets fatter because of neurotransmitters that are created by the microbiome, regulating weight. Well, farming loves this. The animal gets fatter faster. We need that. Right? And the animal doesn't have any diseases going out the door, so we can't be sued for creating the zombie apocalypse, right? Now, how else can we make this animal fatter faster? We can inject it with estrogen. What? We can inject the animal with estrogen. Okay? What does estradiol do to the animal? It makes you fat faster. Okay? What else can we do? We can inject it with growth hormone. Okay? What else can we do? We can feed it grains, even though its diet doesn't consist of grains. Okay? Now, you have this animal that's supposed to take 16 weeks to go from egg to full, and we could do it in 6 days, right? And we do this so that my ribeye at Longhorn Steakhouse costs me $28 for my outlaw ribeye instead of $1,000 for my outlaw ribeye. You follow me? Because if we do everything perfectly, no hormones, no growth hormone, then it's gonna be outside the realm of normal people. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. So that's the part that's not the conspiracy. That's the part that has to happen. My opinion. Please don't confuse my opinion as fact. Okay. The part that I don't think has to happen is the type of unrecognizable environmental toxins that we push into the farming area, like DDT. We used DDT until 1978. Okay, that's fucking toxic as fuck. Okay, we use glyphosate, Roundup, right? We've been using that since 1974. Elevates estrogen, no question. Okay, we use atrazine as a pesticide. Atrazine turns boys into girls. Listen to me again. Atrazine turns male animals into female animals. That shit's on all over our fucking food, dude. Okay? Now, let me ask you, Maureen. Let me ask you. Let's just say some alternate universe. You find out that every fucking thing you eat is covered in nuclear, biological, or chemical warfare designed to make you fat and die faster. You can't get away from it. Somebody comes along and says, hey, here's the reality. We can't escape this MBC, but I have this atropine injector, or I have this tool that will turn that around. Do you use it?
Absolutely.
I do. Okay? Here's the problem with using testosterone replacement therapy. We grew up at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century saying, if you use gear, you're cheating. You're cheating. Oh, he's using steroids. He's cheating. It doesn't
You'll
count.
get cancer and
yeah. Oh, it's
all
going to
this
cause
stuff.
cancer. It's going to give you a heart attack. But worse than that is the stigma that somehow you're cheating and you wouldn't have these gains if you weren't using those steroids. Okay, well, let me tell you something, buddy. Estrogen is a steroid that makes you fat and feminine. So the reality is you, me, and everybody you see, including our Marine Corps brothers, we're taking a fucking bath in these nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare agents that are being deployed against us in our fucking communities that are turning us into aged non-men faster than if we were just walking barefoot along the savannah chasing woolly mammoths and running away from saber-toothed tigers. You ever see a sculpture of the Greeks? Those guys, when you say, oh, he's a Greek god, look at those sculptures. How did they know that the human body looks like that when they didn't have steroids?
And dude, you know what? The people back then lived over 100 in the hundreds. You know, the population used to live a lot longer life.
Yes.
But
yes.
then the thing became population control. You know what I mean? And we're going to get overpopulated. So we got to age our people. We got to put a timeline on them. We cannot allow them all to live to 150, 140 years old.
100%. Absolutely correct, Marine. Absolutely correct. So here's where we are. We're Marines, okay? You can't save everybody. There's this thing called natural selection and survival of the fittest. But you can save you, Double Dog. You can save you. Okay? It's this simple. You get a couple books, and you find a way to go to a doctor who's board certified with A4M, American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. Make sure it's a guy, because chicks don't understand dicks. They don't. Right. They don't. Okay? Yeah. All right? I was hanging out with this board certified OBGYN. She was a graduate summa cum laude, world speaker, head of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for Women. Okay? Bitch was smarter than 10 of me put together. Could not understand why I wanted testosterone. I said, you know why you don't understand? Because you're not a man. You're not a man. Okay? So, is it all right if I share some books with your audience?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Plug away, man.
So, where did I put these things? Oh, right here. All right. The first thing that you want to look at is this book called Metabolical by Dr. Robert Lustig. It's going to go over all the fucking poisons in our food supply. Okay? So that you can make informed choices. Here's the reality, boys. I'm a normal guy, man, just like you. Okay? I got a job. I got responsibilities. Okay? I ain't got a lot of time to cook my own food. Okay? I go to Taco Bell because it's fucking delicious. All right. But you need to know what's in it. And then you need to know how to detoxify from it. Okay.
Right.
All right. Now here's another book you need to read. It's called The Warrior Diet by Ari Hofmeckler. This guy was Israeli Special Forces. What do they call those dudes? Mossad. It's all about intermittent fasting. Okay. Ari Hofmeckler, not a doctor. He's a warrior like you and me. Like everybody listening to this podcast. He's a warrior. He talks our language. The Marine that reads this book will understand why intermittent fasting is important after you read this book. And it's not the best book on intermittent fasting, but it's the best book if you're a fighter.
I do 16-hour intermittent fasting.
It's perfect. 8/16 is great for maintenance. We could talk about the different codes. Now, a lot of dudes, you're dealing with PTSD, dealing with anxiety. This book by this chick I can't stand, Dr. Julia Ross. I don't like this lady. Get this book, The Mood Cure. Take the little tests in there. It's going to tell you exactly what nutrients you need to replenish your neurotransmitters. What are neurotransmitters? Neurotransmitters are our life experience. So there's a neurotransmitter called serotonin. That's the happy chemical.
Right.
All right. We give somebody Prozac. That's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. What that means is we take old serotonin, we recycle it. How good is recycled shit? When you can get new shit just by knowing what nutrient to take. Dopamine, that's the pleasure chemical. That's the one you feel when you bite into the ribeye or you bust a nut on a hot chick. Okay.
You're right.
Acetylcholine, that's the one that allows us to add 2 + 2 and conjugate a verb. Oxytocin, that's the one that lets us feel connected to our life, to our purpose, right? Hey, why are you so why are you so connected to being a Marine? Because it's a fucking cult and I love it. That's oxytocin. Okay. So those are the basic books that I would suggest anybody who wants to regain your war fighting capacity to the best of your ability without having to resort to a medical intervention like testosterone. These are great places to start. Okay. I'm 57. So I'm unable to, I could lift iron. Thanks. I can lift iron, but because I'm 57, it's going to cause wear and tear on my joints, right? And you look at the greats, Frank Zane, Mike Menser, all those guys are all fucked up right now because their joints got fucked up during the heavy lifting, okay? Mike Menser and Arthur Jones had it right, okay? But what we have in the 21st century is you have to understand that we've learned more about the human body in the first 25 years of this century than we have the entirety of human history. Let me say that again. Science has learned more about the human body in the first 25 years than we've learned from the dawn of time till 1999. Okay? Now, there's a book whose title I hated, which is why I bought it. It's called Weightlifting is a Waste of Time and So is Cardio. You see that bald dude on there? That guy's in his late 40s. He's a PhD. You ever see a PhD look like motherfucking Vin Diesel, dude? Look at that dude. Okay? So I bought that book because I hated the title. Turns out he's got tons of science in it. Long story short, he uses variable resistance training so you can get maximum androgen receptor site recruitment. That's just a fancy way of saying you can go to failure without a spotter. And you do it by buying his little $500 machine. $500, dude. It's this little rubber band in this bar called the X3 bar. I can do it right here in my house. I travel to 40 locations 6 days a week. And instead of using the hotel gym, I can just use this and the other bands. And I was like, rubber bands, that shit ain't going to do nothing. I was wrong. Totally wrong. The whole way to grow muscles is you have to go to failure and pass failure with negatives, and you can do that with that. This orange band goes from 0 to 650 pounds at maximum extension. I couldn't lift 650 pounds on iron from here to here, because here you're at your weakest, and you get your strongest at contraction. Then you get weaker. Well, guess what? As you push, the resistance gets heavier, And as you bring it back and you're getting weaker, the resistance gets lighter. So you still get maximum androgen receptor site recruitment. You still recruit, you still activate your growth hormone, you still activate your internal testosterone, but you don't get joint pain. You don't break your joints down. What that allows you for is maximum growth with minimum damage. Maximum growth, minimum damage. Okay? And I'm telling you, dude, shit fucking works like hotcakes. Okay? Like hotcakes. So those are the things that I'd recommend to your listeners. If you are in your late 40s or 50s like me, knocking on 60, and you, like me, think that maybe we're about to live an episode of Braveheart with these blue hats, and you think you might need to run and gun, and you need to get in shape yesterday. Doing the warrior diet, using a machine like the X3 bar, and taking a conscientious effort to learn what nutrients you need to mentally and physically recover at maximum velocity, those books that I shared with you will do it. If you want to kick it up a notch, and I recommend that everybody that's a veteran, especially the combat-based veterans, you read these books and you get this X3 bar and you get your body ready. Because if we learned anything in the Marines, it was readiness. And I had this naive, I'm almost ashamed to say this, I had this naive arrogance for the first 20 years that I was out. Oh, it's not my job. I did my part. Somebody else's fucking problem now. Right? I hadn't picked up a fucking AR goddamn 30 years, bro. And all this shit started happening. I went and bought a 6-hour tread. I got a Glock 19. I got a full kit now. I got 2 indoor ranges and an outdoor range I train at. I gotta tell you, I forgot how much fun it was to kit up. I forgot how much fun it was to run and gun. Because we had to do it, right? We joined the Marines, but they were making us do it, right?
Right.
But when you're doing it just because you want to keep your fucking sword sharp, it's so much more fun. And the thing that everybody's thinking is, well, fuck, man, I got a wife, I got kids, I got a job, my fucking energy's low. That's why you need to read these books. That's why you need to get your testosterone checked. That's why you need to get on hormone replacement therapy. Because getting on TRT is not cheating, brother. If you're not on TRT, you're being cheated. Let's listen to me again. Getting on TRT, getting on gear is not cheating. If you're not on gear because you are bathing in a tsunami of nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare that is being aimed directly at you, no question, you're being cheated. And ultimately, we have to fight fire with fire, boys, okay? And people are going to say, like you alluded to in the beginning, oh, it's going to cause cancer. It's going to cause a heart attack. Let me tell you something. You can have too much of anything. The poison is in the dose. You can have too much water, boys. It's called
moderation is key to anything. And that's the problem with us as Americans, especially, is we don't know moderation. We always want to go the extra mile. We always want to go hardcore. You know, you know, that moderation isn't good enough for us. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. Just like anything, bro, you can abuse anything, even good stuff. If you take too much of it, you can OD on vitamin C. You could OD on other things, and it could do other really crazy things to you. So, again, it comes down to moderation.
I guess. Well, I agree with you 100%, 100%. I would encourage everyone listening to go to a4m.com and click on Find a Provider under the resource tab on the right. Put in your zip code and look at the reviews. And again, please go to a man, okay? And then have them test your levels and have them monitor you. Don't trip over $100 bills to save pennies. What I mean by that is you're going to look at their prices and you're going to say, God damn, that's so expensive. No, it isn't. Your life is expensive. Your life is expensive. Your health is expensive. What if you sitting there, 35, 45, 55, what if I told you that if you moderate your diet and you get on appropriate hormone replacement therapy, peptides, etc., you could run and gun like we did when we were in our mid-20s? Well, I am telling you that. I am telling you that. I'm almost 60, bro. I'm almost 60, man. Okay? And because I eat like a normal guy, but I detox, right? I take breaks. I do intermittent fasting, right? Because I do these things, and then I do rational hormone replacement therapy, and I can work out at home. What's the big problem with working out? Oh, fuck, man. I got to get off work. I got to go home. I got to eat dinner with my wife and my kids. I got to walk my dog. It's so fucking 11 o'clock at night. Now you got to go to fucking 24-hour fitness. You ain't got that energy. You know how long it takes this X3 bar? You know how long this workout takes? 15 minutes. 15 minutes to failure, bro. 15 minutes, okay? Then if you do like a Tabata protocol, 30 seconds of high intensity, you know, like jump rope or sprinting, right? And then 90 seconds off, and you do that for 8 sets, you'll burn more fat than if you were taking clenbuterol, okay? So you could do the Tabata protocol, 8 sets, 30 seconds on, 90 seconds off in 16 minutes. You could do that in 15 minutes from your own home. You could have a full body workout 3 days a week that'll make you fucking diesel, okay?
Nice, man.
And you had no impact to your family, none. And if you get on gear from a doctor, you'll recover the next day. If you go lift to failure and you're fucked up for a week, your testosterone's in the motherfucking gutter, not because you're older, but because you spent more time being exposed to motherfucking environmental toxins, that fluoride in the goddamn water, okay? All this other bullshit, okay?
Even our
I'm
toothpaste,
saying,
they said, dude. I mean, they even say
yes,
our toothpaste.
fucking poison, dude.
Yeah,
I guess I'm saying this because one of the reasons I'm on TikTok is because I don't have any Marines around me, right? Like, we just have to face reality. Being a Marine is different. You think different, right? I go on Marine Corps pages. They say shit, and I'm like, I get that guy. Okay? All right, now here's the problem. I want every veteran, but especially Marines, no matter what age you are, I want you to realize that there are tips, tools, and techniques that you can deploy, and in a very short period of time, you can feel like you're in your late 20s again. You can respond to your environment like you're in your late 20s again. And God forbid we have to do that thing where we defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. God forbid we have to repel by fire in close combat. Don't you want to have the best physiologic tool you can have? And you could have it in 6 weeks, dude. You could have it practically overnight. The time is going to pass anyway.
Right.
Why not? That's my soapbox.
I love it. Hell yeah, bro. I mean, it intrigues me, and a lot of what you say totally resonates with me, especially as of late. And the one thing about technology is we're able to learn a lot more than we ever have. We're a lot of things right at our hand, and some of it's shit information, and some of it's very valuable. You just got to sift through it and realize where the good stuff is and where the bad stuff is. But something that they don't really go and share with us is how long people used to live, and why did they live so long, and all these things, and
Yeah.
realize, like, dude, um it go look at they have there's actually pictures, and they show chickens, and they show how through the years how chickens have developed because of it being injected with GMO and hormones and all these extra things. They have chickens out there that got like 3 wings on each side, so they got 6 wings in total, so that way they can have a chicken that serves basically like 6 chickens, you know. But that stuff isn't. That's not what was intended for us, you know. And another thing is because of our population problem, we had to get so much faster at making food to provide for people, because back in the day a
Exactly.
lot of people were farmers and they all had their own farm and they all pretty much grew their own food, or you know, were out there feeding their chickens and their livestock and all those things. But you know, they started having 10, 12 kids, and then those kids started having 10, 12 kids, and you know, it just grew. Now they got to go make all this food, and they put plastics in it, they put all kinds of little small fibers in there that we don't even
Right.
know. Like a lot of the food that we eat is fake. You know, and why can't it
Isn't
sit
fake.
in a package for fucking 10 years? That's called preservatives. That's called things in there that are not naturally for our body. And it's, you know, they're chemicals that are sitting in there preserving that for you. And then what does that do when it goes inside your body? You know, something that I heard as well is how bad that, you know, they used to say stay away from, you know, salt. I guess there is some really good salts, and it's really intended for your small intestines, which I guess
Can I
when yeah, go
can
for
I
it. Yeah,
cover that?
yeah,
All right. So
absolutely.
iodized salt, the white salt, the table salt, that's just sodium chloride. Okay.
Right.
You want to think of sodium chloride like it's a Greyhound bus. Okay.
Hmm.
Embedded in that sodium chloride, if you get it from seawater or sea salt, is
Yes.
86 mineral trace minerals. We the 90 essential nutrients we need, 65 of them are trace minerals. They're all in pink Himalayan sea salt. What? All of the minerals you need are in pink Himalayan sea salt. Okay? So, yes, the empty Greyhound bus, white salt, tastes like our taste buds are programmed to seek that out, but it should be pink Himalayan sea salt because it's got all of the minerals in it, right? And minerals are necessary for the electronics of our body called our nervous system. Okay, so you're 100% right. Okay, 100% right. And in terms of organ system, it has to do with hydrostatic pressure, and that's a much deeper biochemical discussion. But suffice it to say that if you just keep introducing this empty Greyhound bus to the digestive system, the digestive system opens the doors and goes, "Where's all the tools? Where's all the tools?" And the taste buds they're like, "Well, I don't know. It tasted like salt, looked like salt. We just gave it to you, right?" So the taste buds are kind of dumb. If it looks like, smells like, acts like, they're going to send it down to the digestive system. That's why we eat so much fake food, right? We were told that egg yolks were bad for you. This fucking lie ass nonsense. Okay, the cholesterol in egg yolks are what your brain's made of. It's what your nervous system's made of. What your skin is made of. It's what your fucking hormones are made of, like testosterone. You know, like not eating eggs is it's like a crime against yourself. So,
Yeah, man.
I mean, you know, my whole thing here, brother, is if you're a veteran and you think that you're past, that your time is done, or you know, I don't have time to do all this, it's because likely it's because your hormones are off, man, and they're so easy to fix. It's so easy to fix. It's criminal. Just
And
get the right doctor.
they say that adrenaline also is a robber of testosterone. You know, so a lot of people going in the combat zone, they're high adrenaline level, and then they get when they're done. So I heard a lot about adrenaline has a lot to do too with your testosterone.
So you're talking about adrenal fatigue, and because the adrenals create testosterone in addition to your testicles, then you know if your adrenals are fatigued and your testicles are fatigued and you're not giving yourself egg yolks and healthy fats, you can't create testosterone. And then if you're taking a bath in fucking atrazine and estrogen and soy, all this other bullshit, you can't make your own testosterone. That's why you have to introduce exogenous testosterone from an anti-aging doctor, right? So yes, the adrenal fatigue is a real thing, and if you were in combat, you've seen some shit that your friends can never, conceptualize, yeah, you have adrenal fatigue, right? So the basis of the pyramid is proper nutrition, but there's two sides of that. There's giving yourself the proper stuff and detoxing yourself from the improper stuff. Number one, right? Number two is proper supplementation. Number three is proper medication. Okay, somewhere in there is exercise, you know. But I was talking about things that we take. Um, I feel like every Marine, we felt like we needed to be ready when we were active. I felt like that, right?
Right.
And then when I got out, I was like, I'm a fucking civilian now. I'm just out here having a party, bitch. You know?
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah.
you know, now I'm like, actually, that Marine Corps thing never ends. And I have been irresponsible, I've been negligent, and I have arrogantly been shirking my responsibility as a United States Marine off on my active duty brothers who are deployed all across the world. But we're here. There are Marines here. And God forbid some defecation hits the oscillation and it all starts flying sideways. Let me tell you, man, I'm not ready, but I'm readier. And I'm in a
Right.
constant
Yeah.
state of readiness.
Got you.
And if you're a Marine listening to this and you want some guidance, you know, just contact Brian, you know, and without me taking you on as a patient, because I'm more of a consultant now, I can at least direct you to the right places to go so you can help yourself. Okay. Now we have, you know, a couple things that are easy access. Like I'm a consultant for the largest weight loss clinic in Florida called Doctors RX Weight Loss. And we're using a chemical called semaglutide and tirzepatide.
Oh, we lost him. He might have probably his cell phone. He might have lost either connection or his phone might have died. So hopefully we'll get him back here shortly. As he was just talking about, there's Dr. RX Medical, and then you can go to weight69.com. Give him a couple minutes. Hopefully he'll make it back. All right, this gives us a little opportunity to talk about a couple of things. If you guys would like to join the Facebook group, please go over and join the Facebook group. It's every day is a Saturday, USMC Veteran. You can also check out the show. If you see above me, these are all the different places that you can listen to the podcast. If you want to watch it, you can watch it on Spotify or YouTube. And also, if you you know, in terms of if you want to if you're watching it on Spotify, you guys have the opportunity to do you know, there's answering questions and all that stuff. All right, so he's back. Let's go ahead and get right back into the show.
Sorry about that. So
No worries, brother.
we're using this new drug called semaglutide and tirzepatide. It's also called Wegovy and Manjaro. Now, the same thing happens with this. People are like, oh, I don't want to use a chemical to lose weight. I should be able to just do it with diet and exercise. Well, not always. And here's why. And I'm going to oversimplify this, but I want everybody to get it, okay? You have an operating system called DNA. Embedded on your DNA are 23,000 computer programs called genes. The central nervous system is responsible for activating which genes will help it achieve its prime directive today. What is the prime directive of the central nervous system? To keep you alive, okay? Now, if the central nervous system gets reports from the digestive system at the close of business every day, hey, of the 2,000 calories we ate today, what percentage of these are usable nutrition? Well, if we just killed a woolly mammoth and we ate that liver out in the field, it's 100%. But if it's motherfucking Taco Bell and Mountain Dew, because they're delicious, okay, it's like, well, boss, about 7% usable nutrition, 20% of it's just fucking poison. The rest of it, we don't even know what it is. Some kind of filler. We gave it to the liver. We're still trying to figure that shit out. Well, if the nervous system gets that signal, hey, we're consuming calories, but we're not getting a sufficient amount of nutrition, it will assume that we have stumbled into a geography of environmental catastrophe like an ice age or a famine. because it doesn't know that we're walking around this utopia of the 21st century. Our nervous system has no periscope to the outside world. It doesn't know that we live in Starbucks and air conditioning and fucking paved roads. Doesn't know that, right? The last update to our operating system we got was 10,000 years ago. So it's operating from that frame of reference. So the nervous system is going to activate an emergency response system called the fat-ins receptor gene. The fat-ins receptor gene is a genetic signal that jumps out of the fucking phone booth like Superman that says, hey, I'm here to save your day. And once it's activated, it is allowed to, it gets command and authority to take charge of the metabolism and force your body to store every calorie it can get its hands on as stored energy, which we call fat. It has a secondary purpose of causing the human to irrationally, obsessively, and compulsively seek out, find, and consume more calories. We call that cravings. Okay? So it is not, so it doesn't think that you're eating less because you're trying to get fit. It thinks you're eating less because there's no fucking food anywhere, so it will hoard more. It doesn't think that you're on a treadmill because you're trying to get lean. It thinks that you're walking up a fucking mountain trying to get away from the valley of the shadow of death and make it to the land of milk and honey. So it will hoard more. So it's very counterintuitive when the fat-ins receptor gene is turned on, because our rules that we were taught are 100% of the time you just need to diet more and exercise more. It's bullshit. It's totally not true. Because the fat-ins receptor gene thinks you're dieting and exercising to survive. So as soon as you stop dieting and exercise, you get this rebound. The weight comes back even worse because your fat-ins receptor gene is like, well, we don't want to go through that again. We're going to store more energy, because it's storing energy on you the way a camel is storing water in its hump for emergency. So what these two drugs, semaglutide and tirzepatide, do, I'm kind of oversimplifying it, but you think of a gene like a light switch. You flip it on, flip it off, flip it on, flip it off. But it's more like, instead of the flip on, flip off, it's more like you dial it to the right and the light gets brighter. You dial it to the left and the light gets dimmer. What semaglutide does is it dials that dial down to the left. And as it's decreasing, the fat-ins receptor gene's influence is decreasing on the central nervous system and the metabolism. You're getting leaner, lighter, and your clothes are fitting better naturally. Okay? Until finally, if you do it right, it clicks off. And now your body is going to respond to the environment normally. See, because you'll hear everybody say, this is what happens when the fat-ins receptor gene is turned on. I don't know what's happening. I used to be able to diet a little bit and exercise a little bit. Weight would just come right off me. And now I'm more strict than I've ever been. I'm more disciplined than I've ever been. And that fucking weight just won't fucking budge. And people would just say, well, you're just getting older. What do you think was going to happen? And it's not true. The person who said that doesn't understand genetics, doesn't understand the role of central nervous system, does not understand the role of fat-ins receptor gene, which is to keep you alive by storing and hoarding calories as energy, which we call fat and cravings.
And I heard gluten is nutrient blocker.
What is it?
Gluten is basically like a nutrient blocker.
Bro,
the more gluten,
is a fucking poison. Listen, boys. Gluten's a fucking poison. Okay. You and I couldn't walk out to an amber wave of grain and eat one of those goddamn pods. Okay, gluten is slave food. They gave bread to the slaves, man, to keep them alive, to keep them just above dead. Okay, we're supposed to be killing animals and eating that shit nose to tail. And we're supposed to be growing some shit in the ground, right? To your point earlier, at the turn of the previous century, 85% of America's GDP was agriculture, right? At the turn of the last century, it was 13%, because we're busy becoming web developers and fucking social media marketers and fucking whatever else that has nothing to do with agriculture. Look, dude, if the fate of the world depended on me growing a plant, we're all dying. Okay, I can't grow shit, but I can modify what I consume. I'm just encouraging all you and all your listeners to realize that the first condition of victory is the will to conquer, and you won't have a will to conquer if you don't believe that there are tools that you can use to turn this freight train around. The easiest thing to do sounds like the hardest is to lose fat. But if you, again, I'm shamelessly plugging this company I work with called Doctors RX Medical, and if you click on that link, okay, we'll explain to you why by introducing semaglutide or tirzepatide to your body, okay, you can dial down the effects of the fat-ins receptor gene And now all of this resistance that you're experiencing with weight loss will evaporate. But it has to happen over an arc of time. It can't just happen like, abruptly, right? You got to start at the lowest clinically effective dose and titrate up along a well-established protocol called the Wegovy protocol. And we won't want to get into it, but it takes like 12 weeks or more to turn that gene, that influence dim off. I mean, if you do nothing else but that, your life will fucking get so much better. It gets so much better because you're sitting here frustrated. I don't fucking want to work out. I go in that gym and I fucking sweat my balls off for an hour, 15 minutes. Nothing ever happens. There's nothing more frustrating than that. That's because of this nuclear, biological, chemical warfare. It's not your fault, but it is your fault if you know that there's a tool that you can use to turn that boat around. Now it's your fault.
Love it, man.
Yeah,
I totally agree. And it's, I mean, the more that we advance too as humans, we should be able to get smarter and start to learn from these type of things, you know what I'm saying? But we just continue to, keep doing what we do.
I mean, yeah.
Because we're willing to invest a lot into others, but the thing is, we have a hard time investing in ourselves.
Yes. Yeah. Let me ask you something, Brian. Hang on.
Sure.
Why do you think that everybody doesn't become a Marine? Right? Like, how come we're the few? How come we're the few? Okay? It's because everybody doesn't think like this.
Sure.
Everybody doesn't think conquer. Right? Now, if you're listening to this and you're a veteran, but especially if you're a Marine, you joined the military because you, somewhere inside this mind, thought, I want to conquer. Okay? Well, the battlefield of you is real. You have to absolve yourself of this idea that we're existing in this non-hostile world. Okay? I go to motherfucking McDonald's. I don't think there's a shred of food in that stuff, but it is delicious. It's delicious. Okay? The Coca-Cola at McDonald's and the fries at McDonald's, unmatched.
Right.
You cannot beat that shit.
Yeah.
Okay? But it's toxic, right? So if you're going to eat it, fine. Realize it's going to have this real negative effect on you, and you can turn it around by learning what to do about it, like taking semaglutide for 12 or 24 weeks or whatever you need to dial that signal down so that you can respond to the world like you think you should be able to. And you have to understand that you could talk to 100 fucking people. I don't understand why I can't lose this weight. Well, you're just getting older. What do you think was going to happen? They're wrong. They're wrong. Okay? Is there anything else you wanted to specifically ask me about, Brian?
No, man. I mean, really, I think you covered a lot, and I love it. I mean, I'm sure we could probably go way more into depth about a lot of this stuff, and maybe we have a round two at some point in time to talk a little bit more about these kind of things. You know what I mean? But I really do thank you and appreciate you coming on and educating us, talking about your experiences. And is there any last thing that you would like to say to anybody out there watching? Any words of encouragement or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, just believe that there's an answer, and that the answer is within arm's reach, and then look for it. Like, if you look for solutions, you're gonna get what you look for. If you look for solutions, you're gonna get it. If you look for all the reasons that you can't, you won't. Right? Clarigens, taken over time, will help to enhance brain function and reduce stress. The other thing that I'm pushing is the Delta 8. THC, delta8high.com. Look, man, THC, there's a reason that we have an endocannabinoid system. It's because our body has receptor sites specifically for THC that help to reduce anxiety. And if you, like me, are dealing with anxiety or PTSD or any of that, a lot of these techniques will help you out. Okay.
I'm a big proponent of it. Yeah.
But that's it. I want to thank you again for your kind and generous time, Brian, and for inviting me on your podcast. And I hope that the things that I've shared with our brothers will prove to be helpful and beneficial. And you don't have to come to our clinic, but I would be humbled and honored if you chose us.
Hey, again, once again, I thank you so much. Uh, Not only for what you've done for our country, but what you're still out there doing. You know,
Likewise.
you're out there trying to educate people and keep them alive. And can't appreciate you enough. And like I said, we'll be in contact, and hopefully we'll get you on again and talk a little bit more in depth about some of these things that you got going on, and you could dumb it down for us a little more. And but like I said, man, I appreciate you, and Semper Fi, brother.
Semper Fi, hoorah.
Er. All right, friends and family. Well, that's going to wrap up another great episode for us. I want to say once again, I thank you guys all for watching us and tuning in each and every day. Remember, please share it out with each and every one of your friends, your family. And if you're not out there kicking the day's ass, make sure you start kicking its ass and don't let it kick yours. Until next time. Arr.